Hey guys, welcome to 2021. I hope everybody is doing good and feeling good and excited about the new year. It's been a hot minute since I've been on here. I'm actually like a month late because I've been so busy with my side other businesses that it's been just very crazy, very busy, and I hope the same for you guys. I am going to be starting with a brand new deck, and I love it. It is absolutely amazing. It's the Light Seers deck, tarot deck, and it's just fantastic. I really like the imagery on it. I like the messages that it brings, so we're going to be using that today and probably throughout this whole deal. So I am going to focus, I promised in December's videos that I would be looking at love as well as the main focus of the month, and I wanted to focus on the astrological energies, and I devised the questions based on all of the different astrological changes that we'll see. And this reading is actually going to be covering January and February because I am late and I don't want you guys to wait a full month to get January, and I like to disperse kind of one by one. So you're not waiting. I'm going to do a combination of January energy and February energy. But before we get started, I did want to just give a quick message on how those energies are going to look for you, and then I will kind of specify a little bit further for your particular zodiac as well. But for everybody in general, the first 2 weeks or so of January is going to be really focused around that new moon solar eclipse energy, and it's kind of coming from mid-December in the sign of Sagittarius and kind of into January. That energy started out with these promised, opportunities of exploration and discovery and kind of this awakening and giving us that courage to expand our horizons and gain some insight from experiences and not feel quite so anxious about the end of the year, but more excited for the beginning of the new year. So you're a little bit more inclined to nurture yourself, your faith, your hope, your vision. And it's really, as we get into January, I would recommend not to jump too much into new adventures. I certainly would be a bit more aware of your impulses this coming month. As you follow through, just be easy at this time. Impulses can definitely work the better of us if we're not in tune with our needs, and it can lead to mistakes if we are not focused on that properly. So just watch for making decisions while in the freedom of all costs kind of mindset. Okay, now at the end of January, Mercury is going retrograde. Don't freak out. It's going into the sign of Aquarius on the 30th. And the main questions I'm focusing in the end of January and beginning of February does focus on Mercury retrograde, how you can prep for it, what you can do to kind of stay in touch with staying a step ahead of the game here, so to speak, so that you don't have a whole lot of you more benefit from the retrograde than you do that decline that a lot of people can sometimes feel. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius will kind of tap into our more humanitarian side of things. So more prone to inner muse when it comes to innovative ideas, or slowdowns and delays might be likely when it comes to productivity, as opposed to being more in touch and in tune with your relationships, if you will. Okay, as we get into February, we are going to have an accumulation of planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun are going to come into Aquarius, and this alignment will be boosted with the entry of Venus in the sign of Aquarius as well. So it'll tell us more about the desire for emotional independence, and on the other hand, with the square between Saturn and Aquarius and Uranus and Taurus, it will also have it'll allude to eternal resistance to changes. So also be aware of that when you are maybe facing some shifts that you might feel a little bit outside of your box. You definitely don't want to necessarily just allude from it. You want to look at it, especially if it's during that retrograde period, on what that lesson can bring for you. Other than that, the best time to ask for a favor is going to be February 12th through the 13th, when the planets are adding a special blessing in a beautiful way. Okay, so we're going to kind of get into this. I've got about 8 or 10 questions for you guys. I will find out the best message for you when it comes to love, and then when we get into the March readings, I will really start looking into that, but I want to focus more on you for the first part of the year. Okay, so let's get into it. I appreciate your patience with all that, but a lot of good information. I think you should be informed. That's super important, so let's get into it. All right, guys. All right, Taurus, let's take a look at the January energy. We're going to start with start with mixing up my cards here. We're going to start with where you need to apply Capricorn energy, first of all. Alright, let's see what kind of information that brings us. And then, so the new moon in Capricorn is really the first portion of the questions here. I kind of went in chronological order of the astrological movements. So, new moon in Capricorn, where do you need to apply Capricorn energy the most here? In what area of your life? For Taurus. Alright, so we've got Page of Wands in the reverse and High Priestess. You might be having some kind of, broader thoughts on certain aspects when it comes to things that maybe you haven't pursued in the past, things that you did not pursue in the most keen way. Maybe you were a little bit of a heartbreaker, or perhaps things just didn't go quite the right way, and it's really been on your mind, and you're kind of trying to figure out what the meaning is to that and how you want to pursue it. So the Capricorn energy is encouraging that and stating that it's best to really find some meaning into that, so that because of the fact that there's a retrograde coming up, what you don't want to do is avoid understanding and avoid kind of that renewal or that transformation taking place, as opposed to having a resistance in the change and having some unrealized situations or bad influence take place. You're really more or less letting go and releasing some of that energy. Okay, what long-term goals need your attention? Six of Cups. The Four of Wands. So this looks more like kind of love relationships or commitments that really, tap into your passions or your desires. It looks like you possibly have a bit on your mind, some maybe old situations that you maybe did not take advantage of, or maybe you kind of just postponed that situation or that idea because it just wasn't something you could deal with at that particular moment. But at this point, it does look like that's something that you have kind of on your mind, or some goals that need your attention or need some meaning put to it. Okay, what needs to be cleansed from your mind at this point? Judgment. So it could be negative judgment. It could be just judgment in general. The idea of judgment. Eight of Wands, and with a quickness. So I would say, if there's an old way that you used to think about things in a way that was just maybe not based on vibrations, not based on real morals and values, but more so, based on just ego, you're coming into a point where things are really kind of speeding up, especially if you take advantage of recognizing that spiritual awakening and those things that are maybe the coincidences or signs or synchronicities that are really trying to get your attention. The more you do that, the faster some of these things are going to, these opportunities or situations are going to develop and give you, relief or that reward or whatever it is that is coming into your life here. As we get into the last quarter moon in Capricorn, who or what do you need to detach from? So we've got the Five of Pentacles and the Tower in reverse. So something or somebody that has maybe given you constant, courage or motivation through difficult times, but more than helping you, it's really been kind of delaying the potential of your growth through the situation. That is really what these cards are saying. It's more about letting go of that way of thinking or that way of doing or that way of believing, and being able to take advantage of the reality that's actually just been there the whole time, and that you have chosen to maybe not expand on or realize. But the faster you realize it and the faster you expand on it, the more you can eliminate that old and bring in this brand new and start to kind of come away from those perceptions that made you feel that way, and have a new interest, have that courage to kind of see things from a different perspective and feel okay with it, totally feel confident about the situation where maybe in the past it was a little bit harder to do that. Just to confirm anything you need to detach from, and that it does show that there's whatever's been around to just kind of maybe out of boredom, all right, maybe just because you felt a little bit of indifference from others. Maybe it's just been more about those emotional attractions and depletions that we feel, we need to kind of supplement, or we need to fill that void, or whatever. Okay, that's something that you are kind of detaching from. So what's the next best practical step to take here? Six of Cups. Bring energy and healing back to some things that maybe you have kind of left in the past, that you just disappointed and really kind of fell off in a way that was kind of not necessary. It might have hurt some feelings in the past, or maybe this is just potentials that you have delayed or didn't pursue that you really can go back now and put some energy into, especially with what's going on in the world. So right now it's about looking into things a little bit deeper, looking at things you might have left in the past and seeing if, especially if you have a void in some areas, if it can associate with something like that you can go back to and put some meaning to, and maybe even pursue. As we get into February energy, how can you expand on your vision here? Knight of Swords in reverse. Not going back to the direction where you're just kind of riding with the change, but more thinking a bit more deeply and lovingly and compassionately, thinking about things from a bit more of a bigger perspective, destiny, serendipity, finding that path that's meant to be, kind of an energy. All right. What benefit will you feel from this Aquarian energy? The Knight of Pentacles. So maybe you're really getting into that, energy of apologizing to some people that maybe you didn't treat so well, or maybe apologizing to yourself for some things that you didn't, that you could have done better, or that you want to promise yourself as a New Year's resolution going forward. All right, but it's a kind of a long overdue thing, and it's about taking that and pushing it to the limit to where you can start it, but not overdoing it to where you are repeating things from the past or going to burn out too quickly. Okay, just taking your time, baby steps. Okay. How will the retrograde energy affect you? Four of Swords in the reverse. So something that's just been kind of on hold for some time is going to have a renewal here, okay? So maybe this retrograde will actually be somewhat helpful. Yeah, it does look like that. The Ace of Pentacles, for kind of how or what lessons will the retrograde bring forward. So what really fulfills you, what is really inspirational for you, and things that might not be perfect, but bring a sense of completion, something that you can progress with and maybe find that perfection in its own special way. Justice in reverse and death and rebirth. Everybody's gotten death and rebirth. That is just really interesting. How can you prep for the retrograde? Well, you can start by determining what injustices are really, really just still in the back of your conscious, what's really there, kind of festering and bothering you and needing to be addressed. If there is anything, maybe there's not, and you can just check the box and be done. For a lot of you, I think there will be a few things that you can look back and take a moment. The sooner you can address the injustice, or might not be necessarily an injustice, but it could be something more like a wrong judgment call, or a result that just shouldn't have quite gone the way that it did. Maybe there was an abuse of power that you had, or you took advantage in some way. Or maybe this is someone that did this to you. But it's taking the time to see it for what it is and transform it. Or let it go. It's one or the other. The death and rebirth it's a choice of either letting it go forever. But if it's something that's been just sitting there and you just need clarity. Go after it, transform it, and then let it go. Because at least you can release it in a way that you feel like you handled it, in your own way that it needed to be handled. All right. And in what area do you need more balance? Ten of Swords in reverse. So just overall releasing that kind of fog hanging over your head of bad juju or bad, choices, or maybe just some energy from the past or whatever. It's just kind of a new leaf on life, and you're just going after some brand new energy. You're not really reminiscing on old, and that's something that's important for you to move forward in here, because you don't need to sit on that pain or that grief. You just need to let this blessing in disguise kind of take place and move forward, okay? Love in general, how is that looking for the next 2 months here? So we got the Three of Cups, the High Priestess in reverse, and the Queen of Cups. So you could be listening to your friends or loved ones. You could be kind of getting out there and expanding on what, those moments could be like if you were to reach out and try to connect and heal some of those situations that we were talking about. The High Priestess in reverse is something obviously has been going on where you feel like you were a bad influence, or somebody was a bad influence for you, and there was some selfishness going on, and there needs to be some healing. So whatever it is that you felt like or you resonated to do to make that happen, that is taking place in the next couple months, because for some reason it's been kind of on your mind and been on your plate for some time. The Queen of Cups is maybe even a person, has been waiting for you to give them some kind of news or an understanding of your interest, or where are you at with things, the Sun and the Queen of Pentacles. So it could be an earth sign, but there's something very magical and very inspiring and very positive that comes from reaching out and handling the situation and finding a balance and peace and love and just contentment and compassion in whatever this was. In doing that, you receive something very nice. It's very content. It's very beautiful. It's very long term. It's security. It's wise. It's a long-term investment, though, for sure. All right. And I did want to pull a card for your chakras and see just kind of where you are with things, Taurus. Oh my goodness. All right. So we've got peace here. That's really more about meditation, and they kind of tap into that crown chakra. The first thing that came out was flexibility and relationships in reverse. These are your sacral chakras. This is about finding flexibility in your mentality towards your perception or understanding about a relationship. Something's shifting, something's expanding towards a more peaceful, just your own mentality. No one else is really messing with that. It's just you. So if you need some assistance in finding out if you've got any blockages or what some of that could mean, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I wish you guys a really fantastic couple of months. I will see you guys in March. Much love to you, and I hope you have a fantastic couple months. Bye, guys.